Another episode of Fond Memories of Srila Gurudev. Today we have a very special guest with us. You can say world famous Kirtaniya group, Sripad Vijay Krsna Prabhu. He is coming live from Guatemala, other side of the world. So we are very happy to have him here with us. I'll start this program with Jai Dhwani. Jai Shri Guru Gaurang Gandharvika Girdhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ji ki Jai, Shri Radha Raman Ji ki Jai. Nitya Leela Pravishtom Vishnupada Ashtota Srimad Bhakti Vedant Shri Narayana Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Rupanu Guruvar ki Jai. Vrindavan Navdeep Dham ki Jai. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrand ki Jai. Gaur Bhakt Vrand ki Jai. Shri Harinaam Sankirtan ki Jai. Shri Gurudev ki Madhur Smritiyon ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari. Dandavat Pranam Prabhu Ji, Dandavat to you and welcome to this program, Fond Memories of Srila Gurudev.
Haribo, Dandavat. Yes. Good to be here.
I remember seeing Prabhu Ji as a small kid during parikramas in Vrindavan, Braj Dham. And yeah, he was very, very young that time, like maybe 15 years old probably. But now he is very famous and is doing a lot of seva. He is organizing very ecstatic kirtans, which we will hopefully will see some clips now from him. And in India also, I remember his performance in New Delhi in mall. I think Gaur Hari Prabhu other day talked about his performance where they sold their books. There were so many stalls and he was really nice. Yeah, Raman Prabhu, you want to say something? You can put your mic on. You are not muted. You can talk.
Oh, hi.
Hey.
Nice to see you, Vijay.
I'm so glad you two are here. I'm so glad, so happy. Oh my gosh.
He's regular mostly.
Good.
Okay, Prabhu Ji, we'll start with Kirtan.
Yeah, sure.
Your favorite field. And then I'll give a little introduction and then you can speak.
So some Kirtan and then introduction you said? I got a little bit.
Yeah, you do a Kirtan and then I'll do a little bit of introduction. I'll talk about you and then you can talk about your remembrance of Srila Gurudev.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha Namayam Vishnu Paraya Radhikai Priyatmani Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Let's see. Now I was wondering which short Gurudev bhajan to sing. I was thinking, should I sing a song of Bhakti Vinoda Narottam that is very pleasing to Gurudev?
Yes,
or should I sing a Hindi bhajan that is very accessible to our community here? So, but I think I'm inspired to sing a song by Bhakti Vinod Thakur.
Yes, you can sing both, Prabhu. No problem.
Okay, well I'll sing Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya.
Okay. I will screen share the lyrics.
Oh yeah, so do you want to post them there?
I will do it. You can start. I will find and I'll put it there. Gurudev Kripa Bindu. Okay, 18. All right.
Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Koroi Dase Trinapeka Yatihina Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Koroi Dase Trinapeka Yatihina Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Koroi Dase Trinapeka Yatihina Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Sakala Sahane Bala Diya Karo Sakala Sahane Bala Diya Karo Nijamane Sprihahina Nijamane Sprihahina Sakale Saman Korite Shakati Dehonata Jata Jata Sakale Saman Korite Shakati Dehonata Jata Tabe to gaibo harinama suke Tabe to gaibo harinama suke Aparadaha behata Aparadaha behata Kripa bindu diya koroi dase Trinape kaya dihina Gurudev Kripa bindu diya koroi dase Trinape kaya dihina Kabe heno kripa labiyae jaan Kritartha hai benatha Kabe heno kripa labiyae jaan Kritartha hai benatha Shakti buddhihin ami ati din Shakti buddhihin Shakti buddhihin ami ati din Shakti buddhihin ami ati din Karamore atma sata Karamore atma sata Yogyata vichare kichu nahi pai Tomara karuna sara Yogyata vichare kichu nahi pai Tomara karuna sara Karuna na hoile kandiya kandiya 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 Prana na rakhi boyaro Prana na rakhi boyaro Karuna na hoile kandiya kandiya Prana na rakhi boyaro Karuna na hoile kandiya kandiya Karuna na hoile Karuna na hoile kandiya kandiya Karuna na hoile Prana rakhi boyaro Kripa bindu diya koro yei dase Trinape kaya dina Kripa bindu diya koro yei dase Gurudeva 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 Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Srila Gurudeva ki
Jai.
Srila Thakur ki
Jai. So nice, Prabhuji. That's really very sweet kirtan for Srila Gurudev.
Mhm.
And would you like to sing the other kirtan now or a little later? Maybe?
I think a little bit later we'll
Yeah,
sing
good
another
idea.
one.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
So today we are very fortunate to have Sripad Vijay Krsna Prabhu Ji with us from Guatemala. And as I said earlier, I remember seeing him as a very young kid, maybe around 14, 15 years old, doing parikramas with Srila Gurudev. And Gurudev used to love him very much, very sweetly. He would play with Gurudev like a young boy. And yeah, that time we just saw him as a young boy going here and there, playing in the Vrindavan Dham. But today he is doing a lot of big seva for Srila Gurudev. He's inspiring a lot of youngsters. He is doing kirtan and big, huge concerts in a different way than normally we are used to, so that the younger generation can connect with him. And they are connecting. In fact, as my wife was saying some time back, my daughters themselves, they are looking at his videos and getting inspired. So he's doing a very wonderful seva and spreading Srila Gurudev's legacy all over the world. And even on the television, he's coming, which we'll hear about in a short while from himself. So he is very fortunate to have to be born in a family which was associated with Gurudev, and their family was associated since 1996. And Srila Gurudev came to their home, and he went all over his place, in his bedroom, in his personal desk. He visited in the United Kingdom, and he gave his mercy to their family. Prabhu Ji got his harinaam in 1997 in Holland, and he got his diksa in 1999 in Devananda GAUDIYA Navadip Dham. And so Gurudev ordered him always be in kirtan, and I can see he is following that order to every letter what Gurudev said. He is always in kirtan all the time, doing some seva and organizing some events, and in the kirtan all the time. In fact, we have seen many times when during the parikramas, we would sit outside in Govardhan Gaudiya on the grass, and we would start doing kirtan. Remember, Prabhuji? We make a group like this, and very ecstatic kirtan in the evening, which used to be so wonderful, like it's out of the world. That feeling there, sitting with 10, 15 people and just doing kirtan for the pleasure of Gurudev, and just being in Naam Seva. So, yes. So he said his present life and next are dedicated to this order of Srila Gurudev, always be in kirtan. He left home at the age of 17 and was personally administered by Srila Gurudev to many international efforts to share pure bhakti. So he has a group called Kirtaniyas, which there are 5-6 members, I think, and everyone is very, very talented. Do you have your group around you?
No, everybody's in
Okay.
different places.
Okay. Otherwise, we could have introduced all of the members. So they all do coordinate each other very nicely, and all of them are very, very talented in playing instruments and singing also. And they perform concerts all over the world about Shri Harinam. In Delhi also, we have had one big concert in one of the malls, I think Select City Mall. Behind the Select City Mall, there's a huge area where we had that big program, very successful program. A lot of people were there. I was there too. I think Gaur Hari Prabhu talked about this program when he came in on this program of Gurudev Ki Madhur Smritiyan. They had set up a bookstall there, and Prabhuji had done a very ecstatic kirtan, and everybody was dancing. I remember it was very good time that then.
Mhm.
So today we are lucky to have him with us, and we are going to hear his journey with Srila Gurudev, and how he is inspired by Srila Gurudev and his orders, and how Srila Gurudev has affected his life and is guiding him then and now, and also in the future he will keep guiding him, and how he is doing his seva. We'll hear about the seva also. Also, we would like to see some clips which he has on his computer, maybe some photographs with Srila Gurudev, just to remember Srila Gurudev, which will be very good. We'll go on a memory lane with him today. Okay, Prabhuji, you can start your memories and sharing with us. Feel free, and you can share as much as you like. We'll be very happy to hear.
Dandavat pranams to all here gathered. First of all, I'd like to express my unlimited love and affection for Gurudev and his devotees. And even though the description says that this life and the next, actually not just this life and the next, but Janme Janme Prabhu say. So my life is dedicated to the best way I can, steadily and gradually dedicating to Srila Gurudev and through his Vaishnavas. So I beg them all and you all for blessings to somehow say something nice about Gurudev based on my experiences. So my pranams, dana pranams to all vancha kalpatarubhascha kriva sindhavescha patitanang pavanabhyo vaishnavyo namo namah. Vaishnavas are like wish-fulfilling trees, and they can fulfill all desires. And certainly that desire for Guru Seva can be so much encouraged by the support and blessings of the Vaishnavas. So again, my appreciations to you all. Am I speaking loud enough? Can you hear me clearly, everybody?
Yes, Prabhu, just loud and clear, very clear.
Okay. So I feel it would only be appropriate to give some little backstory on my experiences leading up to Gurudev and why I was so inspired to meet him when we first started hearing about him around the mid-90s, before he actually traveled to Holland, England, and the United States in 1996. So some of my oldest memories and my most favorite memories as a child, I don't really remember so much somehow, but there's a very distinct memory that I have with me it's almost a sanskar that I can hold throughout my life. And it's the feeling of, see in a bit, Raj. Sure. The feeling of arriving at our small local ISKCON preaching center. And the reason why I say preaching center as different from a temple is because it wasn't a temple, it was a preaching center. And I had two heroes that used to dance just like I could imagine Gauri Thai. And seeing them dance as a child was almost so exciting that I would spend all my week in school practicing mridanga beats on my knees and waiting to go to the Sunday program at the Hare Krishna temple or the Hare Krishna, our ISKCON preaching center, to see
Where was this, probably in the UK?
Birmingham, UK.
Okay, great.
So in Birmingham, UK, we had, by the grace of Ashram Maharaj, at the time Govinda Bhashya, and a little bit later on Govinda Bhakta Prabhu, and Bhakta Phil, later Parantapa Das, and later Sri Prem Prayojan Prabhu. So there was something very, very special about these two, and seeing them not only so well engaged in being brahmacharis and preaching and living this somehow what seemed to me to be a heroic lifestyle. These were my heroes in a sense. And leading up to that, basically what happened when some interesting things happened in 1995, 1996, just before that we'd started to hear, hello, you still there? Yeah. We started to hear glories of...
Yes, everyone is there.
Okay, good. Glories of and interesting discussions on the Gaudiya Mat. And this name Narayan Maharaj also came about. I remember must have been possibly as early as 9 years old or 10. So more or less around the age of, around 95, 96, we'd already started hearing about this amazing character, this amazing Vaishnav. And somehow there was a very interesting transition from all of a sudden we had this environment of, an ISKCON preaching center. And I came back from Spain where I was living. So more or less around the time of 95, 96, my mother and my brother, we all moved to Spain. So my father remained in Birmingham, going to the temple. And when there was some, you know, the issues between, you know, our community, our sangha, you know, and maybe say ISKCON, or, you know, some of those, that history that happened, I found myself already, after meeting my, in one sense, first Guru Maharajas, and again, I feel like I can't actually say anything before I mention my Adi Guru, in a sense, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, whose Krishna book was my most precious item. And around the time that we met Gurudev, actually. So first of all, Srila Prabhupada, I must say, you know, that his works inspired me so much leading up until the time we met Gurudev. So I was already reading Krishna book and listening to Kula Shekhar, who is our God with Krishna Kanta Prabhu, who was a rock star and made Govinda Jai Jai rock and roll. So I used to listen to Krishna Kanta around 95, 96 when he became very popular. I was reading Srila Prabhupada's books and very inspired, especially when I was living in Spain, away from the temple. So in around 1995, now I must also mention my first living Guru Maharaj, my Shiksha Guru Srimad Guru Govinda Swami Maharaj. And I know that somehow through my father's announcement in the summer of 1995, I think it was, if not 1994, my father called me when I was at some point on the phone and said, oh, there's a great real guru coming to town and we're going to take you to go and see him. So I was so excited. I met many different sannyasis and gurus, but when my father said that we're going to meet this one special one, he's coming to Birmingham, and then we're going to go and see him, I was so excited. And I really feel the reason why I'm tying in Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj into my story is because I like to quote the words of Narottam on this point. Gangara Bharashatomi Pashate Pavan Darshane Pavitra, like that. I may have mixed some words, but the gist of this Bengali poem is by Narottam, I believe, is that just by bathing in the Ganga,
yes, Gangara Parashale Paschate Pavan Darshane
Pavan Darshane
Pavitra
Pavitra Koro Ai Tomara Gun.
Yes.
So yes, so this moment, the moment of just taking the darshan of Vaishnav Thakur, Srila Gaura Govinda Swami, I really think if I was to equate and speculate in my own maybe development of Sukriti, I would say that just by seeing Gaura Govinda Swami as a young boy, it led me to my next year in 1996, late 1996, my father called me now I'm in Spain, this is a year later, my father calls me and says, oh, Vijay, actually my name was not Vijay yet, he was calling me by my given name Ben. I was given the name Ravi as my Sanskrit name as a child, but that wasn't so much used. It was kind of like so Ravi was also my other name. The call from my father came in and he said, oh, Guru Maharaj has now left us. And this, you know, it was quite a, you know, even though I'd only kind of seen him properly once, but surrounded by many of his devotees, again, like Ashram Maharaj, Govinda Bhakta Prabhu at the time, and Parantapa Prabhu, Prem Paroshan Prabhu, who, even though he wasn't a Harinam Diksha disciple of Gaura Govinda Swami, he was a Shiksha disciple. Anyway, so on the same phone call where my father's telling me that Guru Maharaj has passed on and has gone upstairs back to Shri Krishna, in the same phone call, he says that, oh, but someone now new and special has come into our lives. And this wasn't the first time I'd heard the name Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. But I remember being at that time, we had to go into the local town from my house in Spain because we didn't have a telephone. So we'd had to walk to this local cafe and we'd call my father there to England from Spain. So he's calling me from, you know, across, you know, international call. And he's saying that, oh, this new Gurudev, he started calling him Gurudev in our life. He's, you know, he was very close to Srila Prabhupada, and he's telling us, he's continuing the savor of that Krishna, of the Krishna book, of the Krishna consciousness movement. It came in, I'm kind of pulling together the way it felt. I'm not sure, I can't necessarily tell you word for word what my father told me, but this was a feeling that came in. And he also said, that, and you're never going to guess what. In other words, you know, and do you know what? He said that his pranam mantra is Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane. And him telling me this was almost stunning to me, because by that time, Srila Prabhupada, you know, I was only 10 years old. Prabhupada, my hero, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale. You know, and now I'm hearing this. I don't know, there was a feeling that came about just by hearing that there was this Guruji, Gurudev had come right into our lives right after Srila Gurudeva Swami. And when he told me that, yes, and Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj is very dear to Radhika, to Radharani, and that actually, and then Gurudev is telling us that actually Radharani is Shri Krishna's big secret. And I was just absolutely, it blew my mind. It completely blew my mind. I couldn't believe, because at that time, living in Spain away from Birmingham, where I'd been used to going to, if not my mother, my father, both would take me to the temple on Sunday to see my heroes, to take prasad. And living in Spain for those 2.5, 3 years, I wasn't able to be and see the devotees very often. Only when I would travel back to England to see my father, because in Spain there was a temple, but it was some distance, an ISKCON temple at the time. So anyhow, yes, I was, during that time in Spain, I was reading Krishna book very much and being very much in that 10th canto, Shri Krishna Lila in Braj Lila, you know, starting mostly from, you know, Vasudeva and Devaki, and going into how Krishna is being taken to Vrindavan and how he's defeating all of these cowherd boys. And I was really, my two prized possessions during that time was my mala and my Krishna book. So anyhow, when my dad came and said, oh, this Gurudev is saying that actually Srimati Radhika is, you know, Krishna's big secret. So anyway, I was very excited. And in 1997, I flew from Spain to England. And when I landed into Spain, it was the beginning of Srila Gurudev's festival in France. And my dad was this close to driving us right to France, even though we'd just flown from Spain to England. My father was almost going to just drive us right to France and then to Holland to meet Srila Gurudev. But we decided that let's just wait and let's go and meet Srila Gurudev. For me, the first time in Holland, in Apeldoorn. And two of my nearest, dearest, oldest friends are right here, Ramananda and Sudevi, right there. These two people, these are two of my nearest people, and they came also into my life as a gift from Srila Gurudev at that festival, Apeldoorn. Remember Ramananda? Remember Sudevi?
Ramananda, you can unmute yourself, yeah? Yes.
Yes, we remember.
Yeah.
You were this little kid that somehow knew how to play all the Gaudiya Mridanga beats. It's like, where did you know that from?
Well, you too, bro. I mean, like, you were on it too. Like, both of us were really inspired by the Mridanga, and you had your own licks. You had that kind of Harinaam Bihari style on the Mridanga. I like that style. Yeah. So anyway, meeting you and Sudevi there, and Atul, you know, the adventures we had, but the feeling of this like fresh, alive Krishna consciousness that Gurudev kind of brought into my life at the beginning there, really the first time I actually saw him, even though I'd heard about him 2 years before and I was around the devotees and my father took initiation before. Somehow like seeing Gurudev on that Vyasa-san, and there's quite a lot of footage from the Holland programs I'm very grateful for, Yes, let's see. I could actually play one eventually for you. Can I just play you a little, I'll play a little one here. I'm going to pull one up on the YouTube. See, there's a video footage here. I want to share screen. Oh, your internet connection is unstable. Let me just see. Desktop 1. How can I share my screen, Ajay Prabhu?
You have to go to share screen and then share. And if you're showing a video, you have to optimize for video. There will be an option optimize for audio and video.
Okay. It seems to me I've got to do some settings, but I'm going to post a link here for you to look at. And this is one of the videos of the impressions and the environment and the feeling of having Gurudev there in Appledorn, when myself, Ramananda, and Sudevi were there. And you can see at that time that, okay, well, the first impression of seeing Gurudev was already like, is this an angel? You know,
you can do one thing. You can send the video link on my WhatsApp. I can play it on this.
Okay, send it to your WhatsApp. Okay,
yeah,
I've just sent it
easier for me. Yeah,
okay.
Send me on WhatsApp.
So I remember seeing Srila Gurudev, well, actually seeing Srila Gurudeva and then seeing Gurudev in this same but different powerful presence. You know, it was just completely evident to me that Gurudev was, you know, he was my guru from the first moment I saw him. In fact, before I saw him, you know, leading up to the festival and whatever, I just knew in my soul that this person, Narayan Maharaj, was my guru. I just knew it. And I remember before Gurudev arrived at the festival site in Holland in 1997 that year, one of our god sisters, Ananga Mohini, Ananga Manjari Didi, actually pulled out a photo, and I just remember looking at this photo before Gurudev arrived and being just knowing that he was the one for me. And my impression of him actually looking at me at the first time was also during these days of June 1997. Somehow, yeah, it was a very intimate opening to meet Srila Gurudev. I find that Ramananda can also remembers that, and Sudevi, that early on in those days, especially when there was less people and Gurudev had a lot more energy, you know, to give us personally, in a sense, we would get these. You can see in the end of the video, more or less around 2 hours 55, you can see Srila Gurudev distributing sweets. So all of us.
You want to play the video, Prabhu Ji?
Please play the video real quick. Yes, play the video. Yeah, let's play the video, and I'll tell you which minutes to go to. Have a look. Okay. For the particular minute I'm talking about right now, check 2 hours 54.
Where are you?
Let's see a minute. Let's see. I'm on the side usually. Let's see. Okay, so Ajay Prabhu.
Yes.
Go to 2:56.
Okay, it's going to come. It's 55. Another minute.
Yeah. Haripriya. Our family. Hare, so many cities.
Yeah, I can see all.
Hello, Chandrika.
Yes, Chandrika is there.
Shama Priya Didi.
Yes.
Holland Didi.
Ashram Maharaj is singing, I think.
Yes. I'm coming up now, Prabhu. I'm on Srila Gurudev's left-hand side. He looks at me and I get shy. That's me there, blue shirt. That's me.
Okay, next to the mridang, right?
No. That's the blue the boy, the small boy. That's me.
Okay. With that shirt outside.
Yeah. Left side, far right-hand side.
Yeah. This one here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, here, this one.
Yes.
Cool. Extra Kirtan.
Yes. Very good. That's a short preview. I've got some more.
Okay.
I've got more for after. So you get to see the energy there, and wow, the kirtan was charged. And it's amazing because it really is true that you can have a kirtan going on, but when Sadguru, Shri Guru is there, then it's a different kind of kirtan, for sure.
Yes.
So I've seen my hero do lead kirtans like that's growing up my whole life. Ashamaj leading in the background there,
Yes.
But when Gurudev is then, it was a different thing. The energy at that festival changed my world, really. So, yes, I ended up receiving the name Vijay Krsna from Gurudev in a very intimate way. Somehow me and my little brother, Yadubara, didn't get to make it for the general initiations. And it was a very, very sweet way that it happened, a very informal way. And, we entered Srila Gurudev's room and we're sat at his feet. And yes, because I was so young and still with a little bit of the ISKCON mindset, and the standards for first initiation, which were different from what Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur established, in that ISKCON had some standards expected first for harinaam diksha. However, in Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur's time, and Gurudev followed that same suit, we can find that Naam Diksha is available for everyone, especially those who are following basically the least pure veg diet or have some intent on serving Harinam. Then the Harinam should be accessible to them, and also one name for them to be able to identify with their community and to be recognized. So anyhow, I just wanted a name from Srila Gurudev. I thought I'm too young for initiation. I don't know this or that. So let me just take a name. But being sat in front of Gurudev, he looked down at us, me and my brother, and said, "You are taking Harinam." So I said, "Okay." I was thinking, okay, I'm taking Harinam. And as we gave our names to Srila Gurudev, Brajanath Prabhu and Naveen Krishna Prabhu, Madhav Maharaj later, were suggesting, Gurudev gave the name to my brother first. And then Gurudev, thinking about my name, he looked out of the window and it was quite a nice afternoon and he had a nice bedroom and a nice big window. And do you remember Brahmananda more or less, Srila Gurudev's kutir in Holland that year? Had a quite nice corner room, not too big, but just a nice intimate space. And that smell that always came with like Gurudev's entourage and, just the feeling of Shuddha Sattva in a room, not just Sattva Gun, it's Shuddha Sattva, it's another thing. It's almost, you can feel it, it's there. Anyhow, yes, Gurudev looked down at me and then looked out of the window contemplating, thinking of what name to give me. Brajanath suggested one name. Navin Krishna also suggested one name. Gurudev said, Gurudev put his hand like this and continued to look out the window and think, oh, I felt very, he was thinking about it from himself, he's giving now. And he looked down at me and said, Vijay Krishna. And I was so happy. I thought that's perfect. So let's see. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit to, in a sense, like the next initiation and some of the time that I waited between seeing Gurudev properly and closely again and more close than ever before in Devananda GAUDIYA in 99. So somehow I didn't get to be part of Srila Gurudev's festival in 1998, but ended up seeing him again. Especially nice, it really was Devananda GAUDIYA, and it was Navadip Parikrama time. I remember we flew in. My father had actually just completed some work on another god brother, Ramnath Prabhu, his Sankirtan van, and that very money that came from making this book distribution Sankirtan van was when every penny went towards me and my father that year getting to Navadip. So we flew into Delhi first. And I got my Delhi experience being stuck in Paharganj and just waiting when can, you know, for 3 or 4 days we waited to get a train ticket to Kolkata to be there in time for Navadip. But for some reason, all the trains fully booked up, no tourist quota. And basically the day before Adivas, Sankalpa, my father finally decided, look, let's just book a flight ticket and fly to Kolkata and then get to Navadip in time for Parikrama because we're starting the next day. So on that flight, Shri Ramachandra Prabhu was on that flight also just by chance. And so we arrive in Kolkata and then get in one of those local trains. I get to hear some of my first Bengali kirtan. Not even kirtan, Bengali songs of the beggars coming onto the train and hearing this rich Bengali spirit calling out to Shri Krishna and songs of Nitai. It was very, very beautiful little preview experience. But the big sanskar that hit me was landing in Navadip train station with my father and one other god brother, Halayuda Das, who came on multiple adventures with my father and I. And I think of Ramananda, did you do India adventures with Halayuda also? Maybe you did also one. So yeah, we land in Navadip train station and it's dusk. Sun is just setting. We get in one of these small Navadip rickshaws with our luggage. And as we're getting closer and closer, I can hear through a loudspeaker very loudly, Kiba Jayo, Jayo, Gora Chande. And I'm like, I think that's Krishnadas Brahmachari. And the reason, and now just to give you a little information on Krishnadas Brahmachari, Ramananda again, he and I and our families basically had these tapes. There were 2 or 3 rounds of tapes because we used to share between our families. Basically, we used to share these kirtan tapes. We had tapes of Krishnadas Prabhu, Chaitanya Gaudiya, so we used to try and make sure that we make copies and whatever. Do you remember Ramananda? I think there was 2 particular. There was one really old recording Krishnadas Prabhu, and with a really kind of echoey voice. And then I think in 1998, a second one came out with a bit nicer, with Sudarshan Prabhu singing in the background with a harmonium. It was kind of like the second Krishnadas Prabhu tape that came out. So anyway, as we're driving up to, I know we're getting closer to Devananda GAUDIYA because I can hear Krishnadas Prabhu, who had only had, because he hadn't come to the West yet, no? Ramananda came first tour 99, no?
Yeah, 99, yeah.
99 first tour, so we hadn't seen Krishnadas Brahmachari in the West yet. And as we get closer and closer, I can just hear the most amazing kirtan going on. And when I enter the gates, these giant, and again, I'm only a small boy still, I'm looking up at the grand gates constructed by our Srila Param Gurudeva, the Devananda GAUDIYA, with I have a lot of pride with our Gaudiya Mat, our Devananda Gaudiya Mat, because it's this impression and Param Gurudeva and there's so much. I have a lot of my take and my particular history as different from really a lot of my peers. And when I say peers, I mean those of us like Ramananda, Sudevi, and some of these other godbrothers that we grew up from pretty much children with Gurudev, that for some reason I had this take on the Devananda Gaudiya Mat much more stronger than the Kartik sanskars that like Ramananda and some other family were kind of collecting more. Somehow I was a Navadvip. I kept getting taken to Navadvip, you know, and this first arrival at Navadvip and landing into the Kirtan, oh my Gaura, it was maybe a scene out of Chaitanya Bhagavat itself. No, I have no estimation of how many people, but I was told, you know, around that age that surely even for that Gaur Arti, Adivas Sankalpa pre-night to Parikrama, 8,000 to 13,000 people in Devananda Gaudiya Mat easily. And as I walk into the Mat and there's all these pilgrims, amazing, beautiful Bengali Vaishnavas, we get to the Natya Mandir in the middle, and you can see the temple room full with all these Vaishnavas. And at the very back, there's a bit of a stage at the back of Devananda Gaudiya Mat. There's a stage, and on the stage, I can see 20, 30 dandas of sannyasis, heavyweight, real staunch, strong-looking sannyasis, and all these brahmacharis and Krishnadas Prabhu singing there, only small, but somehow filling the room with his singing, and everybody singing with everything they had. I'd never really, some of those first kirtans I saw in Devananda Gaudiya Mat, I've never seen anything like it. I must say that really they're the most powerful in one way. We had very powerful kirtans with Srila Gurudev later, but this 1999 era of Devananda Gaudiya Mat, when there were very few Westerners there then, and even very few Delhiwalas also. A handful of Delhiwalas, 2 Delhiwala rooms, and maybe 2 Westerner rooms. That's it back in those days. And actually, even my next trip to even in 2001, on my next trip to Navadvip, there was only one other child there, that was Jannava, and she was very, very small at that time. But basically, you know, most of the youngsters went to Kartik, right? Ramananda, how many times did you go to Kartik before you went to Navadvip? More or less. So many times, I think, at least 3. So because Kartik was longer also.
That's true, Prabhu Ji. I mean, people take time to go to Navadvip. It's not so easy. They go more times to Kartik, and after, for myself also, I've been to Navadvip much later, actually.
Much less,
yeah,
but somehow, I mean, yeah, I have this Devananda Gaudiya Mat connection with really like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prominence in my devotional life traces back to the preaching center that we had in Birmingham. And remember, I'm saying preaching center, it wasn't a temple because we didn't have Shiv Vigraha, we didn't have deities. Ashram, at that time we had a picture of Panch Tattva. So the thing is, for since my birth, I went my sacred space, my temple, my mandir, from a very young age. For me, Gaura Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in the middle. Do you know what I mean? I didn't actually have Sri Radha Krishna in that same way as many of my other friends did growing up. You know, having Radha Krishna Vigraha, Thakurji, I didn't have that. For me, it was very much Panch Tattva, Gaura. And it's very interesting that through grace that I had a strong Navadvip sanskar by Gurudev bringing us there, and wow, seeing after this Gaura Arti ceremony, seeing maybe the most powerful sight in my whole life, really. it was I remember after Gaurarti and Tulasi Parikrama, thousands of devotees walking. It was just overwhelming, the amount of energy. I remember sitting on the side of Devananda GAUDIYA Natya Mandir. And it was, if Prabhu, if I die seeing this, my life is success. So seeing my acharyas, my heroes, Srila Vaman Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Trikra Maharaj, sitting like giants on the front of this stage. And again, I was only young, and I was like, oh, let me count how many dandas I see. And I'm sure it was either the number 45 or 54. Surrounding these three giants that didn't have to carry their danda, their paramahamsas. Srila Vaman Maharaj in the middle there, he could have been a mountain. He was, seeing him, Gurudev, Trikra Maharaj together. I prefer to take their darshan than Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh even. We hear there like Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. TK, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Give me the darshan of these three. That is good for me, So, seeing Srila Gurudev in that environment, with the parikrama, seeing him carry Mahaprabhu at 4 o'clock in the morning the next day, seeing Gurudev first carrying Mahaprabhu, going with all these Navadip, these amazing Vaishnavas. Maybe they could have come directly from the text, the Chaitanya Bhagavat, but I'm there with Gurudev. Gurudev is like my Mahaprabhu, and for me, he's my all in all anyhow. Baman Maharaj, Tirukha Maharaj. But yes, I mean, leading up to that, another little story is that in 1998, even though I didn't get to see Srila Gurudev, I wrote a letter to Srila Gurudev saying that, even though I was very young, that I wanted diksha, And he actually wrote, that year, let's see, it was the first of 2 letters I received. And that one I still have safe. The letter case, old Indian blue and red border Gandhi stamp. And the backside, Shri Keshav Gaudiya Matra. And the front side, Shriman Vijay Krsna Brahmachari. Gurudev sent that to me personally from Mathura. So I have one letter that was particularly like hand sent, You
want to show the letter? You have it in electronic?
No. That's in my safety deposit box with my father.
Nice.
Yeah. In my treasure chest, I have a treasure chest of items from Srila Gurudev in Birmingham at my father's house.
What else do you have there?
Oh, let's see. What do I have? Let's see. I've actually got. I wonder if I can share photos. Basically, one of my favorite. Well, some of my favorite items in no particular order. Ramananda will remember also this one. Is that in 2000 and either 1 or 2, Srila Gurudev's program was being held at a Gurudwara of the Namdhari. Namdhari, very high class, respectable Sikh, very high class. The brahmacharis pakka, and they also have a continuous, in one sense, a continuous alive sampradaya, as we can call it in a sense. In other words, their gurus are still living. And it was Thakurji's arrangement that 3 years in a row, that these Sikh brothers, as he basically Gurudev called them also, hosted Srila Gurudev's program in the Gurudwara.
Which place was that?
Birmingham, 2001, 2, and 3.
Okay.
So yes, I remember many items being given to him during those 3 years. That's when he was actually staying at our family house. So the family house was, it was a house for not just, our family, but we had very close extended family members like Atul and Ramananda here. Like my father, our homes were open to each other. His father was the best. His father and mother were my mother and father for my wedding, because my father and mother couldn't make it, but his very father and mother were my mother and father. Him and Atul would come and spend time in my house for months. Sometimes it was like my father would deal with them like nephew or other son. But especially when Gurudev came, devotees would arrive a little bit beforehand. The wonderful Dutch devotees. Gurudev had a very, amazing team of sevaks, and she, Brinda Didi and Tunga Vidya Didi were the specialists in the preparation for making sure that the environment was good for Srila Gurudev. And I remember my family, those 3 years in a row, we would clean the house top to bottom for Srila Gurudev and the entourage, his party arriving with him. And because he was staying in my bedroom, we had to take down the bunk beds. We had to reorganize the room. We'd bring the bed from Srila Gurudev's Bhajan Kutir in the Mutt in Birmingham. So I must give also some major unlimited appreciations to Sri Gaur Govinda Gaudiya Mutt project, which is a very interesting, if we think about it like for history's sake, it was a synthesis temple, because we had not only was it a Gaudiya Mutt temple named after an ISKCON guru, but we also had multiple acharyas coming from many different mutts. Srila Bhakti Baba Puri Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Baba Tirtha Goswami Maharaj. Like, aside from Srila Gurudev, we had these 3 great acharyas blessing Gaur Govinda Gaudiya Mutt, and Ramananda spent so much time there in the ashram doing seva, and it was because the Birmingham Gaur Govinda Gaudiya Mutt was in a sense halfway between the India scene with Karthik and Navadip and where Gurudev was going, but then the USA is the other side of the world. So many devotees traveling either from India to Europe or India almost to the United States or vice versa. Birmingham Gaur Govinda Gaudiya Mutt served as a very nice base for devotees to come through. So we had a lot of devotees from all around the world. We had Australian devotees living there for months. We had devotees from India, from all around Europe. It really was quite an international scene, right, Ram?
Mm-hmm.
Very international. So Srila Gurudev staying in our house would take the items from Gurudev's Bhajan Kutir from the temple, where it was not quite comfortable enough. It was nice to have Gurudev in his own house that we were taking care of. So yes, having Gurudev in my bedroom, and I had a big desk that was my school desk, and it's basically Gurudev's final drafts of Jaiva Dharma were completed, more or less partly on that desk.
Wow.
So, I used to remember that all I could think about during my school years was how quickly can I run away from school and go and be with my Gurudev in India? So it was a little bit of a hellish condition for me to be going through school, wanting to run away at age 14. And that's a topic that came up with Gurudev and my father. That basically my father said to Gurudev at one point, he's only 14 and he wants to go and be in the mutt and come with you. But actually Gurudev at that particular time mentioned that he wanted me to finish my education, which I almost did. But that time working on my desk, going through school and having, but Gurudev has touched this desk. It kind of gave me some refuge until I got to run away from home in 2003. So, it was Karthik. I mean, I did write, I've got a bit of a sequence of events here, but we've kind of skipped around. I just want to kind of just close up the Navadvip kind of experience with Gurudev. So I'd written to Gurudev, requesting diksha, even though I was just really young, and got the response. Then I traveled to Navadvip first time, 99, and Gurudev, gave me and one other devotee, a peculiar devotee, don't mind me saying, a Russian devotee, and there was only two of us taking diksha from Srila Gurudev at that Navadvip Dham Parikrama. And in a sense, because Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj was there, and because of the way that Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti was organized, most devotees took diksha, especially within India, take diksha from Srila Vaman Goswami Maharaj. So my yagya was me and one Russian devotee that actually ended up leaving completely. I don't know where he went. I don't really, but my yagya was very much at the same time and in the same spirit, in a sense, of Srila Vaman Maharaj giving what he was giving there too. So I have a photo. Maybe I'm going to send the photo of me taking diksha. Let me see if I can find it.
Send me on WhatsApp.
So anyway, I could. I've got a whole photo of, I can't find them right now. Let's see, what else do we have? We just talked about 2003 was quite significant to me. I mean, there's many different between. Leave home in a sense, and I was really just wanting to, wanting to get out of Birmingham and going to be with Gurudev. Ajay Prabhu?
Yes,
you're still there. I'm just checking.
I just missed some of part. I couldn't hear it. Maybe my connection is bad. I don't know.
I just want to mention how in 1990, Gurudev went to Watford, Birmingham, Tunbridge Wells, and then finally finished up in London. And I remember one morning in Tunbridge Wells, a very, very significant conversation happened when Srila Gurudev, again, in the earlier days, Gurudev would sometimes just surprise us and be walking around talking to us.
Yes.
And I saw Gurudev walk out of his room that morning, and essentially we walked right up to each other. And it was 99, so I would have been 13 years old by this point. 99, so yes, I'd taken diksha by then. And Gurudev comes, we walk up to each other, and he says, Vandeham, and I put my hands together, I say, Shri Guru, Shri Utapada Kamalam, Shri Guru Vaishnamscha, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sakana Lalita Shri. And then he says, because I made some mistake, but then he says, Om Jnana, and then I said, Timirandashya Jnana Anjana Shalakya Chakshurami Tamir. Then he says, Vancha Kalpa. He tests me on at least 5 or 6 Mangalacharn verses, and by the time I'd kind of said a few, there was an audience. There was devotees surrounding and kind of like listening and watching on the conversation. It was very cute.
Very sweet.
Gurudev said, I want you to learn all these things. He said, learn all these things, and then we will go together. And he had his mala. He put his arm right in there, said, we will fly together. He pointed to the sky and said, we will fly together. So by this point, he's putting an idea in my head that if I can get myself together and prepared, that I can go and travel with Gurudev and be on the party and learn how to cook. And by this time, Krishnadas Prabhu had first been on tour in 99. So now I'd seen Krishnadas Prabhu in Navadip, but now he's on tour too and playing Mridanga, and I'm getting to see how he played, you know, and really I have only, I must say, in one way, 3 distinct big brothers. And in one way I say that because in one way I end up being the big brother to many of the, you know, younger devotees in our sangha in a sense, but I myself have like 3 really special big brothers who I got to do kirtan with, you know, and that you know, I'd like to say that, you know, even though they came into my life a little bit later, seeing my dear brother Sri Gaurasundar Prabhu from Hawaii, you know, Gurudev sent him to Birmingham, and seeing him bringing his experience and the spirit from the mat with him in both his song, his seva, his sadachar. And then I also want to mention, you know, Rup Kishore Bhaiya, who is, my relationship with him extends even further back in one sense because we were also associated with Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. But Rup Kishore had also received amazing training from Gurudev, and so amazing, and him coming into my life and doing kirtan in that way. And then also Ramananda, like really, I've got to say Ramananda is one of my few big brothers who I have so much love, affection, and respect for being big brothers. Do you know what I mean? And you know, even though Ramananda hadn't spent time in the same way, but him being in Birmingham and us going on adventures together. And I used to love doing kirtan with this guy so much that when we used to travel to each other's houses all the time, he you might remember Ramananda, how like I started getting a bit into, let's make a recording, let's record these kirtans, remember? So he remembers when I was kind of like getting into just like recording our kirtans and thinking, well, I don't know what we're going to do with them. Let's just record them and see how it goes and put the mic there and sing another one. And we were at his house once in 2000, I don't know, 2003 or way earlier. And making these recordings and, you know, Sri Guru singing bhajan songs that may have hopefully been pleasing to Gurudev. We were just recording kirtan, you know. So having them also in Birmingham throughout the years and with their experience going to Kartik, Ramananda been to Kartik so many times, and oh my God, as soon as he got back, we want to hear everything. I want to hear, tell me what happened, tell me how it was, what the kirtan's like, how was Gurudev, the whole, you know, I just couldn't wait to hear back from my friends coming from Kartik. So anyway, 2003, I finally managed to kind of follow up on, 1999, the end of the Europe tour, we were at Astasaki Mataji's house in Watford. Watford is a very significant place because Srila Prabhupada has established the manor there. And basically, this was a week or two after Gurudev said, we'll fly together, and pointed his finger in the air, and it got me so inspired. I started talking to Brajnath Prabhu already at the end of that tour in Watford now, and letting them know, you know, Gurudev is asking me to kind of maybe come on tour. How could that work? And I was hoping and praying in my heart that it will be arranged. Somehow Krishna will arrange, the devotees' ticket will be arranged. And I'm only 13 years old, but somehow I'll get to go and travel with Gurudev. But basically Brajnath Prabhu said, okay, well, you know, have your father arrange the ticket and da-da-da-da-da. And I was thinking, my father has 5 children. My father's not going to be able to, you know, take care of that. But somehow, some years later, 2003 now, excuse me 1 minute. In 2003, I finally got to finish off my minimal education in school and flew to India before Kartik, 2003. Srila Gurudev was doing Jaipur program that year. So I landed in and then landed into Vrindavan, and then within a few days caught a very long bus ride to Jaipur. And Srila Gurudev was having a program at the Hanuman Park, I believe it was, Hanuman Vatika or some park there. And oh, I've got a photo also of that occasion of him with his arm on my shoulder. I actually have a very nice little album of Gurudev photos. So this was almost the beginning of, okay, I've left home now. I've just arrived in Jaipur, and I'm on a one-way ticket. And there was multiple discussions of Gurudev early on told me that to get ready in a sense and be ready to travel with his own party, you know, with the cooking and with the kirtan and whatever, and kind of just be involved with that. But then at other points, he also mentioned me, you know, that I could stay in the mutt for some time and get some training. But strangely, 2003, by the time Kartik was finishing up, it was arranged for me to travel with more or less 2 or 3 sannyasis to New Zealand and Australia. And I did some book distribution there. After that, I found myself kind of doing these different adventures with Gurudev's preachers. I traveled with most of Gurudev's sannyasis, especially throughout Europe and a few throughout Australia. In 2004, I also found myself in USA, helping out with the Los Angeles temple, with Jagmohan Prabhu, Venugopal Prabhu, kind of setting that up. And it was quite interesting to see the US community sangha of Srila Gurudev. And I got to experience the first New Braj festival, Badger Festival. And especially for all of us youngsters, it was always very exciting to hear about New Braj Festival with, you know, the drama plays that went on there. Gurudev was particularly in a very intimate mood there and would be very sweet with the devotees. And because somehow there was something about the way that Gurudev particularly was in New Braj or Badger, it kind of caught the attention of the devotees internationally in a sense, especially as we had so many devotees that spent all their time, effort, money on buying themselves world tickets to be with Srila Gurudev. And I know people, amazing devotees that left their homes, their children, got into debt, put everything into really just following Gurudev around the world. I saw so many devotees hopelessly putting everything they had into spending that time with him. And some of them coming back after the New Braj festival, you know, we had so many nice things, and many of us were curious to eventually go. And we eventually, you know, throughout the years, again, because myself and people like Ramananda and Sudevi were very early coming to Srila Gurudev Sangha, we eventually got to know many of our God brothers and God sisters, more or less in the same age. We got to know them at different international festivals, again, like Srila Gurudev bringing us all together. You know, that's one of the many things that we can express, you know, as an amazing feature that Gurudev has brought into our life is so many amazing lifelong friends in a sense. You know, it's very, very powerful. So, you know, seeing Gurudev out in New Braj, Gurudev was actually very happy to see that as he was traveling, that sometimes I had gotten there ahead and been helping out develop the congregation, or, you know, he started to see me popping up around the world and not always getting sponsored, because one of the interesting stories that happened over a 5-year period is Gurudev, you know, encouraging very much me to dedicate more and more, you know, and that came out in him, you know, requesting me many times. I think I did once count about 7 times over the period of, I don't know how many years, him expressing me wanting to take saffron cloth and dedicate myself even more. And that's what I wanted, actually. I wanted to kind of somehow, according to my own pace, one day get to the point of completely dedicating myself to my guru, because it was obviously the most amazing thing in the world being around him, the life that he lived and the impact that he had on so many people, I just wanted to be close to that, you know. And if I could be close to that, then I don't know, it's just beyond happiness, really. And so him coming to me and saying, you know, I remember early on, and maybe the one particular time he told me was in Ramananda was 2005, The Hague or Rotterdam? It was Rotterdam, right? 2005. Rotterdam, yeah. So I think Rotterdam program, he said something very powerful to me. I think that was the second or third time he asked me to take saffron. He was getting into the car, and I was up close, and he looked at me and said, I want you to take saffron cloth. And I said something along the lines of, Gurudev, I can't, or something like that. You know, this desire to kind of keep somewhat of my own independence, but also I was making my own estimations of how I could live a steady, long life in bhakti and not take saffron and burn out. Maybe I had this idea or fear also, but Gurudev said to me after that, when I said, oh, Gurudev, I can't, or I don't feel strong enough, or whatever my excuse was, he said in response, you should have the mood. How can I serve my Gurudev? And I was like, okay, I'm taking that. I'm going to take that. I'm going to try and see that if I can't fulfill this external expression of dedication as he's requesting me, then let me at least take what he just told me there, and one way or other figure out how to have that mood. How can I please my Gurudev? You know, and yeah, so let's see. Later on, let's see, we have, I don't know where to go from there, 2005. Again, this is no particular order. There's so many different things that happened to leading up to me. Kind of still to this day, really, the idea of me not really ever getting a job. Really, I've had 2 or 3 little jobs here and there that supported my life to go and be with the Vaishnavas and Gurudev. You know, so really I felt like I gave my life in one sense, you know, even though I didn't take saffron cloth. And there was a lot of provision of saffron. So that really, if you showed that dedication, that the sannyasis and Gurudev would actually show some extra caring and taking care of you. And, you know, but somehow I had some independent mind and wanted to kind of fulfill what Gurudev wanted me to, but somehow do it my way or something. I don't know what, but, you know, the desire is still there, you know, and the inspiration with Kirtaniyas and what I do now and singing is only come from Gurudev telling me to always be in Kirtan, and no matter how much of a nonsense I am and can be, that's my saving grace, and that's what he wants of me, you know. So, and he reminded, there was one time actually, I was, I think this was in Los Angeles. I used to massage Gurudev quite a lot. If I was there, it might, throughout many different countries, if somehow I was there, then Madhav Maharaj or Brajanath Guru would call for me to come and help out with some massage seva. And I remember one time in Los Angeles, I think it would have been 2005, just before the Rotterdam festival we were just talking about. I was massaging Gurudev, and somehow the massage kind of finished, and at some point Gurudev, he was just kind of getting redressed to change. Such a paka sadhaka of sannyasi. Oh wow. Seeing Gurudev like just taking care of his menial actions, absolute tip top, amazing. Seeing him change his gamshas was just amazing, you know. So he asked me to come close to him as he's standing up, and he has his shirt off and only wearing gamsha, and his sikas up in the air, and he's got oil on all over him after we just taken care. And he asked me to come close, and I come close, and he says, come closer. There, like into like this close. And this is one of the very powerful times that I also caught that actually Gurudev had at least one, I forget how many, eye operations. And that actually Gurudev's left eye had somewhat of a slit in it. If you got close up to Gurudev, very close, you'd have to get quite close. In 1 or 2 photos only I've seen, you can see Gurudev has a very peculiar, one of the pupils of his eye is quite powerfully different. They're different. One was a pupil and one is some lion eye or something, really. If you look, you can see it. I've seen it, I know. So anyway, I got this close up to him. He asked me to get closer. And he said, you're playing Mridanga. Now I want you to start leading Kirtan. You can do. And my voice, I like playing Mridanga, but not such a singer. I was a bit croaky, but Gurudev, he said, like, I want you to do it. You can do Mridanga, you're doing. He actually said that, that he mentioned my dear big brother, Gora, and how he was, doing Kirtan, and that he said, he wants me to start leading now too. And anyway, so yeah, I kind of just started to try and sing Kirtan along with my Mridanga playing around 2005 and 2007. I got my first melody or two on the harmonium, and more or less around Kartik 2007. The reason why we had these spontaneous kirtans, Ajay Prabhu, is because when earlier on with some friends, maybe 2006, I can't say earlier on anymore. I must say that really Gurudev's sangha, there was a distinct change around 2004, 2005. That was distinct to me. 2005, or if not 6, I already remembered the way that Gurudev would come out of his room in Gopinath Bhavan and see the crowd and the amount of people, so many new devotees also. And I remember thinking to myself that, because we've had quite close proximity with Gurudev, you can see photos of me and Gurudev and Ramananda here when we're very young, with Gurudev and a hand on our shoulders, or we're quite close with him, quite close proximity in the early days,
Ramananda Prabhu, you can also show some photos if you have those. We'll be happy to see. Yes. Or you can send it to me on WhatsApp. I'll show. Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So 2005, I remember things kind of being a little, I remember thinking to myself as Gurudev walked through the crowd that, oh, now I have to get used to giving my pranam from some distance and give space for those who are just coming now. So really, what can I say? I remember every time I would see Gurudev as a young, I would always request, he would either pat me on the head on his own accord, or if it didn't happen automatically, oh, Gurudev, and I'd point to my head and boom, he'd pat me nicely, But I remember the thing, okay, now I have to kind of, I know what it's like to be close to my Gurudev, and even if he's walking out, and there's thousands of people in front of me, and I shouldn't get too close because others want to take darshan, then I will just do from a distance, and but always making sure is that as much as possible throughout those last 7 Kartiks that Gurudev was on the planet, his own last 7 Kartiks, I had the great fortune of being able to attend every single one of them, and doing as much kirtan and Dham, Darshan, Parikrama, Seva as possible. And I was a bit of actually not such a naughty kid, but I made sure that I was always there for Kirtan as he told me to be. He told me to always be in Kirtan, and sometimes I would even try to come up with excuses. One time in Gopinath Bhavan, I was upstairs, and in his room, I followed up with the entourage. And again, in one sense, because Gurudev had stayed at my house, and because I
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu Ji. Hare Krishna.
I suppose because my family very like just childish, you know, or whatever. And he you know, he said very well, and some, you know, but generally he wants me to be in.
Prabhu Ji, I couldn't hear the last 2
Hello?
minutes. Can you describe it again? I could not hear. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, we lost you for a minute. Yes. Can you say again what you said just now?
Yes, I was just saying how sometimes I would, I remember this one particular time going to massage Srila Gurudev in Gopinath Bhavan, but Gaur Arti Kirtan was going on at the same time, and Gurudev very strongly asked, what am I doing here when Kirtan is going on? And I tried to let him know that, oh, but Gurudev, I'm here to, you know, play your feet. I'm here to, you know, we had interesting talks sometimes.
Hare Krishna, Hari Bol.
During massage time and more.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, we can't hear you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Just say after interesting talks. We didn't hear anything after that.
Yeah, I was just saying, sometimes there will be some, you know, humor, laughing, joking, sometimes some sarcasm also.
Can you describe those? Yeah, it would be nice.
Sure, let's see. Another time in Berlin, during massage in Berlin, 2003 or 4. It wasn't the first time, it was the second, 3 or 4. Ramananda was there too. It was one of these times in Berlin we were there with Gurudev, and actually Gurudev was staying at Ramananda's sister-in-law's family house. And I was a teenager that time and a little bit like chubby, you know, and I was standing at the door of Gurudev's bedroom. And the thing is, that particular trip, I'm not going to say they made a mistake, but I remember them saying that it was the last time they would put Gurudev on such a long international flight. It was not a good choice that year. They flew Gurudev from some long distance to Berlin in time for his program. And I remember when he woke up from massage, he was tired. And I was thinking, I don't want my Gurudev to look this tired, you know? But he was also in this kind of like funny mood. He was in funny mood. And he walked back from the bathroom on his way to receive massage. And I was standing in the doorway to his bedroom. And again, I was a little bit chubby. I used to like, my Bengali side likes to have fried rice with lots of butter first thing in the morning during those days when I was a teenager. So a little bit, and Gurudev walks and he comes close to me and he's got no glasses on and looking a little bit tired. And he looks me up and down and he says, have you come to break my legs? But breaking my legs, you know, when I first took it, I thought, oh, he's saying I'm a little bit too fat and I'm too strong, or maybe I'll be too strong. But actually, break my legs means give it good energy, massage, you know? Yeah. Give it good energy. Another time in massage, I was massaging his feet with oil, and Gurudev says out loud to someone in the room, Gurudev says, he's polishing my feet. And I thought, oh, I must do harder. Must do it harder. So breaking his legs meant give it some good energy also, you know? So this kind of humor would get out of Gurudev sometimes. And oh my, his sense of humor sometimes. One time in Australia, I think this was 2005 or 2004. I remember, because, you know, Gurudev, people come into Gurudev asking, oh, Gurudev, give me a mercy, Gurudev, and these things. Gurudev was staying in the Punja's house in Sydney, very nice house, lovely, dedicated family. You know, this family serves Srila Prabhupada a lot. They have a good record for sadhu seva, the Punjas in Fiji and Australia, very special family. So Gurudev was upstairs in the Punja's house, and one devotee, Gurudev was in a very happy mood, happy bhav. You know, one devotee there, he was kind of his first time almost meeting Gurudev, and he was a magician and used to do these note tricks, and it was a bit of a darshan in Gurudev's room, and Gurudev was so familiar that day. Oh, so happy and very down to earth, as we say, very with his family, And this devotee does a $10 trick. He shows $10 and then he just make it into $50. And Gurudev made this joke because someone had given some donations on his lap on Gurudev's donation. Gurudev said, "Look, take." and made everyone laugh, and then someone gave Gurudev some flowers and sweets, and he's looking through, and one lady devotee comes and says, "Gurudev, can you give me your mercy?" And Gurudev kind of continues looking at the box of flowers, and he says, "Yeah." He just says, yeah. But it was very humorous, fun mood, like, "Oh, Gurudev, give your mercy." And Gurudev, yeah. Like, it's all going on. Let's just be like a family now, that kind of mood, So, very informal and informal mood that time. What else do I have? I have so many bits and bobs here and there. He wanted to arrange, there's a nice photo of him calling me up in class one time and asking me to go on Bengal Prachar. But the strange thing is, by the end of that Kartik, I think it was 2004 maybe, Gurudev had basically arranged for my ticket to go with Sripad Bon Maharaj to Australia, Malaysia, Brazil, and so he was already kind of having plans in my, you know what I mean? He was already taking, Vijay will go there with Bon Maharaj, or, and that made me feel very happy and secure, and like I was part of something, and that he knew where I was, and that, and that's, I really, really had a good time doing that, really. And still to this day, I feel like an orphan a little bit, not having Gurudev keeping that direction in my life. If he wasn't personally directing my life and arranging for me to be in a particular place during my free time, or when he wasn't, I would still make that any effort. And even when it continued on to me getting married in 2007, Saraswati and I really didn't let anything change. We really both kept Gurudev and being with Gurudev as much as possible our top priority. Really, like every penny went to, if not going to Kartik, going back home to be able to do something, to be able to meet Gurudev in the next on his tour somewhere. I remember giving Gurudev, but from my hand and Saraswati's hand, multiple times, a nice donation. For us, it was what we could at that time, maybe a few $100s or something or whatever. And Gurudev, Gurudev asking us, you can do that, otherwise I will give it back to you. And Gurudev checking in on Saraswati like that, and in a sense, and I remember one time Gurudev saying, "Oh, is he taking care of you? Is he maintaining nicely?" Right in front of me, my own guru is asking his daughter also, in a sense, that, is Vijay taking proper care? So he was so personal like that, I must say that, very, very personal, when he used to ask us, "How are you?" He used to say that.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, Hare Krishna.
He's from Nityadam. He's from Chinmoy Dham.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Hare Bol.
Hari Bol.
Prabhu Ji, just say after, how are you? We missed you after that.
What was I talking about?
Just for maybe 30 seconds.
Oh, I was just saying how when Gurudev would ask us, how are you? He would say, "How are you?" We would really feel it now. We would really, he had a very personal touch to his life, and in a sense, his, maybe say, acharya-hood, even though we felt that otherworldliness from him, yet so personal, right? Presence, we call it, you know. It's when he used to look us in the eye and show that he's thinking of us and checking in on us, you know, and found that very, very powerful. I remember certain times, actually there's one time in Navadip, the day before Gaur Purnim, the thing is, in a way, I never fully stopped going and somewhat spending time once in a while in ISKCON. I'm a little bit rare in that case, only because really I had a hero that side, Ayendra Prabhu, Ayendra Das, who I'd studied his Kirtan. And that's Kirtan that I'd studied before I got to leave home and start playing Mridanga for Gurudev and the party. Ayendra Prabhu had been part of my preparation in doing that. So he was already part of so we'd having Karthik time, my top priority was always Gurudev. If Gurudev was there, I was there. You know, over those last 7 years, if Gurudev was there, I was going to be there. I wasn't going to make a choice and go and be elsewhere. But the moment from Govardhan or Vrindavan, the moment they announced, okay, tonight will be off night, or Gurudev won't be coming out, then I will go directly to Shri Radha Shyam Sundar Krishna Balaram Mandir, ISKCON Vrindavan, and do Kirtan with Ayendra Prabhu. For other reasons too, because also I would have very good conversations with him about topics I'm talking about with Gurudev. So anyhow, why this is important in a sense is because, what was I saying about the,
Prabhuji, can you describe something about
I was talking about how I would sometimes go and do Kirtan in ISKCON Mayapur and ISKCON Vrindavan. And one time I had a handful of my close friends from that side say, oh, can you Vijay, can you take us to meet your Gurudevs? Multiple, in one sense, because my prominent Shiksha Guru Srila Bhakti Bala Tirtha Goswami Maharaj, and he was also in Navadip Mayapur during that time. And these ISKCON Gurukuli brothers of mine were saying, oh, please take us to go and see your Gurudevs. And I brought these Gurukulis to meet Gurudev in his Bhajan Kutir in Navadip, just outside the Mutt, in that house, the greenhouse. And there was a room full of devotees, all in darshan with Gurudev before the evening program. Before Gurudev came out, more or less 4:30, 5 o'clock for the end of evening kirtan, and before the program, there was a darshan going on, and I brought 3-4 friends with me, and the darshan was going on, but I cut. I would tell my friends, come on, we're going right to the front. Don't worry. You don't worry, I'll take you. Come on, chalo. So I introduced each of these nice friend brothers of mine. Actually, that's when Arjun Achua got introduced to Gurudev the first time too. That's when I brought Arjun Achua and 2 or 3 others. And I said, Gurudev, these are my friends, and this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. And Gurudev looked at each of them and then looked at me, and time stopped. It was something, I don't know, out of a fantasy book, out of, I don't know what, but the eye lock between Gurudev and I at that particular point, like there was almost like nothing else existed, nothing else mattered. I forgot about everything as he made this eye contact and gave me a monologue, very direct, must have been 3 paragraphs worth of words on how he wanted me to dedicate. He's seen that I've been traveling everywhere and doing kirtan everywhere, and he wants me to give even more. And how tomorrow morning on Gaur Purnim morning, come and I will give you saffron cloth. You know, and he kind of he said a few other things too, but time stopped. It was just his eyes and my eyes in this very, very most powerful, maybe the most powerful direct sanskar of eye-to-eye contact that I had with Gurudev was that particular time. And because he said something that actually inspires humility in me. He said something that inspires me but at the same time, I you know, he said that, and I have all the honor, respect, and if I have anything, it's from him anyway. Do you know what I mean? So it's a very tricky situation. I'm saying, okay, well, you're qualified, he said, you know, and I'm then thinking, well, if I have any qualifications by only coming through your grace, but I don't have the capacity still to give this. I didn't say this. It was just, he didn't, this is the penultimate time that he asked me to take saffron. The last time was actually in Germany, 2007. And that was the day before the morning walk where I tell Gurudev that I'm going to get married. And there's a video of that too. Woo! Ooh, I got it. The mercy, huh? So it was the night before, the first night of the program, 2007, Holland, Germany. What Holland program was that, Ramananda? This 2007 one, Saraswati's parents arranged it, where me and Saraswati made cheesecake. Do you remember the location? How was it? Hanover?
Heidelberg, yeah.
Heidelberg, was it?
Heidelberg, no?
Heidelberg, Germany? We're trying to remember the
Germany.
specific place. Yeah, but the specific place in Germany. Do you remember? Was it
Heidelberg.
Heidelberg? Heidelberg. It wasn't Alpa. It wasn't Berlin, that's for sure. So I think it was Heidelberg.
The one with the lake and the little chalet.
Yeah, Heidelberg.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. Heidelberg. So it was the first the first evening of the program, and I just seen Gurudev in I don't know how many places. I was basically traveling on quite a lot, and he came up to me after the evening program, the first evening program. He puts his hand on my shoulder and says, even so and so has taken saffron now, and I want you no. He didn't say no more excuses. He said something along the lines of, tomorrow morning, you come to my room. Like there was no more, Vijay, I want you to take saffron. No more, you know, these other things. Like this was a seventh and final time. He's not asking me anymore. He tells me to come to his room.
Did he go to his room?
Well, what happened was, oh my God, what a sight was. He's got his hand on. So, and he's telling me tomorrow morning, come take saffron. But standing right behind him is Saraswati. And at that time, we're just kind of associating. So we got so scared. As soon as Gurudev walked off, both me and Saraswati were very scared. And I thought we said, well, what else to do? Maybe we should go and tell Gurudev right now. So after me and Saraswati, we were crying out. We were very sad. Me and Saraswati were crying, very scared almost, you know, like Gurudev had that much power in our life, that much love in our life, that he said that, and both Saraswati and I cried just at the idea that will he want to give, you know. So I went directly to Gurudev's house, knocked on, Madam Raj answered, and I said, oh, Madam Raj, let me come and speak to Gurudev. And then he said, oh, Gurudev now taking bath or anything, whatever. And then I said, Maharaj, tell Gurudev that I'm going to be getting married to Saraswati. And then there's a morning walk video, and at the end of the morning walk, a very nice morning walk, at the end of the morning walk, Gurudev said, where's Vijay Krishna? And then some of the brahmacharis, sannyasis pushed me to the front or to across from Gurudev, and Gurudev looks me up and down and says, my brahmachari, because now by this time Madam Raj is told Gurudev they don't want to get married, and Gurudev looks me up and down and says, my brahmachari, and then just gives me the mercy in a very, very good wake-up call way. I mean, you know, I try pulling in Saraswati's father, who's a senior devotee, Prabhupada disciple. He's arranged the festival. He's personally taking care of Gurudev also. And I'm thinking, oh, if I pull my future father-in-law in, then Gurudev will also like, oh, okay. But Gurudev didn't even look, and then gave me some more mercy. And he said something very powerful to me that time, actually. And it was a very interesting time because some sannyasis had some issues in throughout the years, but for some reason Gurudev says something very peculiar to me. You can hear it in the video. He says that you could have taken sannyas, and had you fallen down, then no bhakti. But I always try to wonder what exactly that meant. If it was how he's speaking to me directly, but he's also speaking to me for history's sake. He's speaking to me in front of all these people for them to also hear the message. So but somehow I noticed that one of the reasons there's a very practical side. When we were young, Ramananda can also say too that a few of us, were a little bit afraid of wanting of getting involved with saffron, partly because we also came earlier. And when we're coming earlier to Gurudev, we had a bit more of a classic, old school, as we say, Gaudiya Mat approach to the dedicated saffron sacred cloth. The way we first got education is that cloth is sacred and it's for life. So that's the impression that we had from early on. Some of the younger boys that came to Gurudev a little bit later, or younger than Ramananda and I, a little bit later, Gurudev would actually give them the cloth and say, okay, look, dedicate your time now. And in the future, if you have to do anything else, then okay, but dedicate this time now. But that actually came about more or less 2005, 2006. Really, we came in with that impression that, not as much from ISKCON, of course, but when we came to Gurudev, it was very powerful to us in that this cloth of of essentially the Braja Gopis. This cloth is very esoteric and very deep and very sacred. So despite me not taking saffron and somehow getting, I just wanted to finish the point that I realize now that I'm 35 years old, and looking back at the fortune of the likes of those of us that were quite young to come to Gurudev, especially those of us that came to young to Gurudev early on also, is now it's very clear to me that Gurudev was a very senior citizen. If nothing else, let's take a side of what to speak of his pure bhakti gift to the world, having a teacher that is quite a senior citizen, and being a very young age. Practically myself, Ramananda, and Sudevi were all pre-teens, getting education from not only a grand master, but also someone that has 80 years life experience. It's quite amazing, really. Now looking back, I'm thinking, he was talking to me, to his children, his younger children like us, in our teenagers and our 20s, really encouraging us to give and to dedicate. I mean, if nothing else, for the time that he was there. Now I see that. It wasn't so clear to me back then. Now I see from his perspective, like he has limited time. We're young, but we're also receptive. What a great opportunity, what a phenomenal, and now I see that the sense of urgency that he conveyed to us in acquiring or getting bhakti, despite all odds, which he made very clear to us. Tatra lolyam api mulyam ekalam. Literally only that desire that supersedes and will smash any reasoning for us to acquire that great gift of prema bhakti. And how much Gurudev reminded us that actually the lobh, the desire for it, the incessant desire, or even greed as it's translated to, will be the very means that we can purchase the most highest gift. And how Gurudev presented the teachings of Ramananda Sambad and Mahaprabhu, and going through very clearly how Mahaprabhu himself wants to hear more. At what point will Mahaprabhu be satisfied? Only Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati. At that point, okay, now let's go into it, Mahaprabhu says. But now we have Srila Gurudev telling us from his own mouth the conversation, the essence, and the hidden glory of Ramananda Mahaprabhu's conversation, these teachings. How can if I was to only talk about my personal experiences, It may be sentimentalism. I must touch upon these different themes of katha that Gurudev gave on his tours. He was very particular. The tours were planned. Gurudev did his notes on the topics. Gurudev was so expert. Gurudev didn't just come in front of us and start talking, but he actually had plans to present, okay, well, the journey of Gop Kumar and the discovery of Golok via the different devotees of Hari, the likes of Ramananda Samba, the glories of Gadadhar, what is Gauravani, what is the actual meaning of not only our Srila Prabhupada's mission, but actually Gaura's own Vani that is a current that we're all part of, clarifying this. What is the mission of the Gaura, of the Gaura Bhaktis? Is it to do humanitarian feats? No, Gaura Vani means Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesh Kirtaniyas Taddama Vrindavanam. 5 points. Gurudev gave us in 5 points how we can know essentially from the perspective of rasa what the greatest conclusion of them all is. That Shri Krishna of Vrindavan is the topmost worshipable object. His Dharma is non-different from him. The greatest example of worship and display of love is from the Braja Gopis. The account of Srimad Bhagavatam is an impeccable presentation of pure bhakti. And prema is the highest goal of every living entity. So Gurudev making this very clear to us and giving the words of the acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in this case, one tour, sometimes giving katha on Prahlad Maharaj, and giving sometimes some stuff that maybe as children maybe made us feel a little bit scared also. I got a little bit scared when I would hear him talk about how Prahlad Maharaj is talking about the well-like condition of life sometimes, and how to be able to challenge that. What if we are in this condition of being in a well holding by a branch, and time is eating away, and the snake's down there's a tiger ready to eat us, and this situation of this world, and this, Gurudev giving a very rounded package in presenting and sharing pure bhakti, uncompromised, pure Shuddha bhakti, you know what I mean? And if, and one of the first, I can say really the first direct things or topics that I learned from Gurudev, rewinding back to the Holland conversation. Now we can see Sudevi too. So as Sudevi, Ramananda, and I were playing as children in those classes in 1997, I remember Gurudev encouraging these devotees to stand up. And I remember I took 3 distinct words, with my young developing brain and memory back then. I remember Gurudev talking and encouraging the devotees to talk about Aropa Siddha Bhakti, Sangha Siddha Bhakti, and Swarup Siddha Bhakti. I remember that basically being the topic, at least of some of the distinct, amazing classes. And I didn't understand very much other than there's 3 types of bhakti. And you know what I mean? Just very few little bits and pieces here and there of Srila Gurudev's teachings that through him directly, his books and his Vaishnavas, we got to hear a lot more about. And I must express my gratitude. I think I can also speak on behalf of Ramananda and Sudevi too, but especially Ramananda, in the education that we received from Sripad Ban Maharaj on Jaiva Dharma that he received so much of from Gurudev. So, and Ban Maharaj is very good at keeping tight, especially when it comes to Jaiva Dharma teachings, what he will only speak what is heard from Srila Gurudev, so kind of getting the remnants, the prasad remnants of Jaiva Dharma also so much from Gurudev when he started kind of giving the first one we had was the volume 1 in 2000. Remember, you'll remember that we had at first when they printed Jaiva Dharma, it was going to be in multiple books. They printed part 1 first, and they were going to print multiple different parts. But what ended up happening was it 2002 or 3, we just received the blue Jaiva Dharma in 1 book. But actually what we'd been expecting was to receive it in parts. So Jaiva Dharma came really big into our lives, really from 2000 when Gurudev started promoting it. So Gurudev really was promoting Jaiva Dharma. I remember being in Alpa, I think it was Alpa. Sudevi, did Gurudev sign your Jaiva Dharma or was it your Gitti Gooch? I can't hear you.
Yeah, now you can.
Which one did he sign?
Unmute yourself.
Or type it in there.
It was the Jaiva Dharma.
So there you go. So I remember witnessing Sudevi go up to Gurudev in this darshan, and handing over the Jaiva Dharma, and Gurudev writing in the page, my dear, I think it was my dear daughter Sudevi of Budar. What did he say? There it is. To Sripad Budar daughter Sri Sudevi. So there it is. Hari-bol. That's it. So just see, again, I can't just get caught up in my own personal experiences without kind of bringing into what Gurudev brought into our lives. And that book, Jaiva Dharma, Gurudev promoted it. When I say promote it, he wants us to get it. And Jaiva Dharma is not just teaching, actually it is just teachings, but it's not just teachings in the exchanges, in words and all the Vaishnava theory. For me, I get just as much from the interactions of the Vaishnavas and the characters. We learn so much, just as much in Jaiva Dharma of how bhaktas relate to each other. Think about the 6th chapter when the Vaishnavas meet with the mullah, and the mullah stand up respectfully to greet the Vaishnavas, and the Vaishnavas pay Dandavat Pranam to the Lord within the heart of the mullah and his associates. So there's just as much within Jaiva Dharma culture and what is showing us the interactions, and again, Gurudev giving that first ever edition, in English, properly, nicely translated, and he really made us, he let us know that he read it over 108 times,
Prabhuji, do you want to say something about your Kirtaniyas? How did you get the inspiration? When did you form it? How you're doing is seva? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, a quick bit on that. Well, basically, again, just trying to fulfill this always be in Kirtan kind of mood.
When did Gurudev tell you always be in Kirtan? Which place? And what circumstance?
It may well have been. You see what happened actually. Ramananda mentioned that he witnessed me pick up Mridanga quite early in 97 or a little bit after that. But what happened was I was actually a bit of an annoying child, so Devi can tell you for sure. But I was also sometimes a little bit shy. And, I spent my first 8 or 9 years kind of desiring to play Mridanga in Kirtan, but not ever having the courage to actually pick it up in Kirtan and play. And it wasn't until that festival in Holland where I'd all...
Are
you still there?
Yes, it was cut for a while.
Hello.
Prabhuji, hello, can you hear me? Haribol.
Hi, still there? Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. I want to show a clip where you're playing Mridanga when you were young.
Oh, you show a clip playing Mridanga? Oh, yeah, I'm in this video too. That's my little brother, Yadu. That's my little brother.
Don't look at the camera soon.
Krishna Kripa. Krishna Kripa. Around the cliff, nice one.
Yeah, Ramananda sent it to me.
And that was Ramananda with the hoodie on his back.
Yeah.
So Devi's not in that footage, but I've got a photo of us. So Devi
Devi's
found
running around in that video.
What?
Devi's running around in that video.
Sure. Oh, such the best memories in the world. So yeah, about Kirtaniyas, basically, you know, I always loved Kirtan. Gurudev just supplied me with just all the encouragement to do my most favorite thing in the world, and he's my most favorite person in the world. The two together, I'm just trying to make it work in a sense, and fulfill that mission, that idea of always being in Kirtan and one day doing pure Kirtan, like, you know, Gurudev has let us know. Rupa Goswami is saying, Su Kirtananu, that one day I can, you know, to perform real sweet Kirtan in the you know, association of true lovers of Shri Krishna and Radharani and the Dham, etc. I mean, starting the Kirtaniyas was a way for me to, in a sense, mass wholesale throw out Prabhu's names. And, you know, in a sense, the strategy has been that, you know, if for some reason the bhakti or the name touches them and they somehow come forward and want to know more about what is Chintamani Nam, what is the divine name, or what is Bhakti Yoga, or, you know, how can I find a real guru? It's been a system of throwing the names out there on YouTube, where there's always someone watching or relishing the Kirtan online, and kind of just making the names accessible in a sense, you know. And it's a little bit tricky in a sense, being involved with sharing Kirtan or aspects of preaching, especially now that, you know, we don't have someone like Gurudev. Back in the, you know, in the olden days, we could, you know, someone would come and want to know about bhakti, and maybe they'd, you know, develop to a point where we could say, hey, I think you should come and meet our Gurudev and you can trust him, and, you know, and it's a little bit tricky now, you know. I'm not saying there's no one qualified or available. It's not my point at all. I'm just saying that, you know, if having Gurudev around for such a kind of large part of our lives, in a sense, up until 2010 physically, and yes, okay, like 11 years have gone by now, but it was such a powerful time, at least for some of us. I think many of us really, but some of us that were particularly young, I think that was quite impressionable. And, you know, yeah, now it's, you know, I'm just waiting, really. I feel little pieces of my Gurudev in people like you, the three of you that I can see. I remember, so, you know, seeing you with Gurudev, and I just feel it. I feel Gurudev, we've all got little pieces of Gurudev in a sense, and somehow I have no doubt in my soul that I'll be reunited with him one day. And I think I'm just waiting around now, in a sense. I'm trying to pass this life nicely doing some seva, but I have no doubt and I'll fire on him, fire on life. That's what I want, and that's why I have no doubt in my soul. Somehow that I'll be reunited with my Gurudev, probably not in this body, in another future time, and also with my near dear God brothers too, the ones that aren't here with us anymore. You know, and not ordinary people. Some of the people that came with Gurudev that are still here, and also ones that have followed, so to speak. They're not ordinary people. So yes, now, I mean, just doing the Kirtaniyas, it's been an interesting year and a half, 2 years, not being able to kind of travel and do in the best way I can what I think Gurudev wants me, doing Kirtan all the time and making my attempts there. So I mean, now I'm just kind of working on furthering that glory. I'd like to glorify Gurudev this year in a very prominent way. It's his 100th year, centennial, and yeah, I don't know what else to say really on Kirtaniyas really, but it was created as an entity to serve Gurudev and to throw the names out to the world, and people are responding, and so yeah. Anyway.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I really loved the way you presented. I like your easygoing style, the way you're seated. No dress up or anything. You're just original right in front of us as you are. It is so nice to see you in such original form. Your smile, the way you're wearing your clothes. You have no formality or anything. I can see that. You're sitting in the shorts and your bed. So it is really nice to be so original and right from your heart. It's very nice to see you like this. And I really appreciate your realization at a young age. Like you say, you're only 35 right now, and you started your spiritual life when you were 9 years old. And the way you started your talk has really touched my heart. You appreciated Vaishnav Mahima. I mean, if you can realize the Vaishnav Mahima, then you have achieved so much, I would say. Not many people understand this, but you understand it so deeply, and you call wish fulfilling trees. Yeah, we say it so many times, but not many people actually realize it deep in their heart. We just say it because we are hearing it. But if you have it in your life, and if you understand the real meaning, and you do your acharan like that, which I can see in you, that you are so much respecting all the Vaishnavas, and the way you started, it is really nice. It touched my heart. And then you are so gracious to give gratitude to all the people who came in your life, starting with Pujapad Bhaktivedanta Ashram Maharaj Ji, Govind Bhakt Prabhu. When you were only 9 years old, you talked about them. Then Prem Prayojan Prabhu, and many more which you mentioned. It really speaks of your very beautiful heart, which gives respects to everybody who came in your life. And then you talked about Krishna book by Prabhupada, how it shaped your life beautifully. Yes, it's really a lovely book which talks about so many, 10th canto from Srimad Bhagavatam, about pastimes of Krishna. And anyone who reads this book will surely be touched by Lord Krishna's pastime. And then you also talked about Krishna Kanta and Govinda Jaya Jaya rock style. And I can see that you also have some of his style. I do not know Krishna Kanta very well, but I can see in your style you have some rock touch there.
So touching upon Kirtaniyas, the fact that, I mean, Sudevi was also very close to him growing up. And I owe it to him for getting me in the studio first. So he recognized that Gurudev was encouraging for me to do Kirtan. But then Krishna Kanta Prabhu of Kulasheka, really, he was the first one to arrange me to get in the studio. So my path as Kirtaniyas and being a recording, presenting Kirtan artist, whatever that means, I want to kind of give an extra shout out to him for that too. Yeah.
So that is really nice of you. You have a beautiful heart. You're giving respect to everybody who came and helped in your life. That's how Gurudev taught us. He said, even if an ant helps you, you should give respect. So that's really nice. And I can see you're so fortunate that at a young age you met such Mahabhagavats like Pujapad Gaur Govind Maharaj, even though you said you met only once. But even if you meet only once such a high devotee, it's good enough, I would say. And then you had such an intimate relationship with Srila Gurudev that you could joke around, he would pat your head. So it is so precious. You're also not ordinary, I would say. And
I'm a very fortunate person, only a very, very fortunate person. Causeless mercy, really, I really mean that.
And one thing I want to highlight about from your talk, you said you were reading Krishna book in Spain. So this is, everyone should understand this very clearly. When you do not have a good association, the best thing is to read the books. That is the kind of association and which you followed so nicely in your life. I can see you said that thing. And you talked about how he gave your name. I also like that description very nicely. He gave it personally to you. He did not hear anybody's advice, and he thought for a moment, and he could see your future. He sees everybody's future. And then he realized that, yes, Vijay is the appropriate name. Vijay means who wins all the time. And I can see you winning everywhere.
Only because this name was given.
Yes.
If so, it's because his name was given. And just to kind of summarize that that naming of Gurudev to me, what does it mean? It means the victory of Shri Krishna, who is non-different from his name.
Yes.
So the victory of Shri Krishna's name, that means Nam Namakari Bahudan Sarva Shaktis, it's unlimited names of God. So what is the victory of God's name? That's my life's purpose, is to serve that.
Yes.
And that's what Gurudev arranged for me. That's what I want for, that's what the best thing I could want for myself. And then I've had the opportunity and the blessings and all that to somehow have, some contribution or ability to, but really that's my life's purpose, is to serve the victory of God's name.
So you're doing that very beautifully. You're spreading God's name everywhere, and it's always victorious. Param Vijay Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, Mahaprabhu also says. So you're doing exactly that. And it is so nice to know that you had so much connection with the Devananda GAUDIYA. Not many people have that. And now that we have a separate mutt, you are one of those few people and youngsters, I would say.
More than Keshavji. More than Keshavji, I have mostly with Devananda GAUDIYA and some of the brahmacharis, and they know, and being Param Gurudev, the most. I don't want to just cause a monsoon, but I'm just gonna tell, let everyone know that those who are there. I mean, for me, the most, seeing Gurudev being carried for the final time, to see Param Gurudev and Devananda GAUDIYA.
Yes.
That was something. That was something. Seeing our Gurudev now coming to take darshan of his Gurudev, now both in Samadhi. That was one of the most one of the most powerful sanskars. And this again, almost 10 is how many years later? 11 years later, from my first visit to Devananda GAUDIYA to now the grand finale of Gurudev has been brought now, coming to see Gurudev, and now they're upstairs together. So that was very, very, very powerful. So yeah, quite a few impressions with Devananda GAUDIYA. And
yes, I think you have special mercy of Gauranga Mahaprabhu and the Panch Tattva, because you're very associated from the very beginning, from Birmingham Mutt, as you described. You are only the Chitrapat of Panch Tattva, and you are introduced like being a foreigner who normally, like we have an introduction to Krishna from very young age, and it's in our blood from the history. But being a foreigner, if you're introduced to Panch Tattva first, it is very natural to have inclination towards them. And if you have a mercy of Panch Tattva or Gauranga Mahaprabhu, then obviously you're going to do Kirtan like what you're doing now, because he's a super Kirtaniya, Mahaprabhu. So you have a special mercy, I think, and that is taking you around the world and preaching so beautifully. Can you hear? I think your connection is probably. Prabhu Ji?
Okay, I got you back. Sorry, you skipped there. I got disconnected.
Yeah. So what I was saying, that you have special mercy from Mahaprabhu because of your connection with him from very early, and because Mahaprabhu is our super Kirtani, I would say. He's spread the Sankirtan movement, and you have a special mercy, so that's why you're able to follow in his footstep and do Kirtan all around the world so beautifully and engage so many people and attract them. So
I try.
I can see it in your life.
Yes, it's far from perfect. I am far from perfect, but it's
my only hope. On the path.
It's my only hope.
Yes. So it's very nice to know that. And you said you have more sanskars from Navdeep than Brajmandal. Yes, not many people have that, and it's really very good to have it that way, because if you have more association with Mahaprabhu, Krishna is almost there. He's there for sure. You can't miss him. Yeah.
Even if Mahaprabhu and Krishna not coming, it's okay. I'm okay.
Yeah. Krishna is inside Mahaprabhu, nothing to worry.
He's there already. God Krishna.
Along with Radharani. So yeah.
Both.
And this is very rightly described in 1999. Very few Dilliwalas and foreigners were there. Yes, we were more towards Braj Dham, and then only later we got to know Mahaprabhu, and then we started going there. That's very true.
Yeah.
So
Gurudev would make sure the Westerners.
And the most nicely you described Gaur Aarti, the most powerful sight in my whole life. And you started crying, remembering those Gaur Aarti. So I can see your connection with Gauranga Mahaprabhu, how he's touching your heart. And So it's really
It's
nice.
again enforced by just the darshan of those sadhus, really. Like Mahaprabhu becomes real to me by their darshan also, you know.
Yeah.
Just one little last memory of Devananda GAUDIYA Math also. I must praise my other Gurudev also, Srila Vaman Maharaj, you know, because I feel like he's also my Gurudev because of that connection to Devananda GAUDIYA Math also. You know, I remember I actually took Vishnu Swami also, my dear brother, I took him to go and see Vaman Maharaj for the first time. But I remember being, you know, seeing him in his bhajan kutir. He would sit there and chant 2 times 64 rounds a day, 2 lakh a day, harinaam, no? And I remember looking through, 1 lakh for his bhajan and 1 lakh harinaam for the benefit of the world. That was Srila Vaman Maharaj's bhajan, you know, 1 lakh just for the benefit of the world, you know. But looking through his window, the side gate, across his nice, his bed, he would sit on his bed with a cushion, a bolster cushion, and chant, silent. But what I remember, you know, I kept seeing Srila Gurudeva Swami, seeing Gurudev, different varieties of Paramahansa. But I remember the particular feeling of taking darshan of Srila Bhaktivedanta Bhaman Maharaj. It felt to me that he was almost like he could have been the pivot of the planet. He could have been Mount Sumeru of the planet. In other words, if the whole world was rolling just from his center point, he had so much weight, so much guru-nas, heavy, so different from Gurudev. Gurudev had a most different variety, same, different, alak, you know, but something about Srila Vaman Maharaj and taking darshan of him like that also. Like, and they were a team, you know, and a lot of what we have coming from Gurudev also is coming from this teamwork of this trinity, in a sense, you know.
It's so nice. You're describing Vaman Maharaj so beautifully, and you are having these realization about his personality. Not many people have it. I'm telling you, not many people know this also fact, and the intimate association which you had with Pujapad Vaman Maharaj, and the way you have seen him. You're describing him as pivot of the whole world. It's a big realization, I would say. I mean, that you could appreciate this.
But I was only 11 years old, and I could feel
then,
it was a feeling, okay, sentimental, but you could just feel the weight, no? Yeah.
And you described beautifully how Devan Gaudiya 45 or 54 dandas surrounding these 3 giants. What a beautiful description you gave. And before that you said
big turban, big tilak, pakka sannyasi.
And before when you heard Gaurath, you said, if I die, my life is successful. Because
if I die remembering that scene, if I die feeling, just that whole Navadip first night experience, I'm good. I really am good. If I can enter that, some scenery, more of that in my next life, then I'm completely fine.
So it can shows how much effect it has on your consciousness.
Sure.
And then you made another.
That also, that Nityanam can also wait. Actually, there's something or more of what's going on there. I want more of that first.
Wow.
We see this sadhus in Navadip Dham more first. But
and then you
first deserve then desire, you know, that's what I want.
You made another very powerful statement which I really liked. You said Gurudev is my Mahaprabhu. It's so beautiful. It shows your Guru Nishtha. Yes, he's really our Mahaprabhu, but he's everything to us. You know only him. We don't know Mahaprabhu directly. Everything we know through Gurudev. And you describe about Sri Gaur Govind Gaudiya Math, how multiple acharyas from various mats, Bhakti Pragyan Puri Maharaj, Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, and
Vaibhav Puri, not Pramod.
Puri Maharaj. So yes, and being in ISKCON, they had a Gaudiya Math, which is also amazing thing. Gaur Govind Gaudiya Math.
It was a synthesis. It was a synthesis math because Gurudev gave shelter, especially to many of the Gaur Govinda Swami devotees. And in honor of Guru Maharaj, Gurudev named that temple Gaur Govinda Gaudiya Math. It's an ironic thing, huh? It's a Gaudiya Math temple named after an ISKCON Guru. I love that.
It's a Gaudiya Math started by Gurudev, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Sure.
So that's how our Gurudev was so magnanimous and so much respectful to everyone. So here it shows our Gurudev's glory that he's naming it Gaur Govind Gaudiya Math. So nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you describe how he came to your house and how he got bread from the mat for Gurudev. Yeah, so nice. And he blessed your whole house, your table, study table. And Jai Dharma was completed on your desk.
There's also I used to carry him upstairs sometimes in India. Mathura, I used to carry him upstairs. No, I remember one time carrying Gurudev upstairs with Maharaj, and I'm just walking, carrying, and we've got, I've got arms underneath. His Gurudev's face is here, super close.
Oh.
And I said to him, I leaned down as I'm walking up the stairs. I said to Maharaj, not so heavy. And Gurudev, such innocent face, like a child, looks at me and go, kind of eyebrow, like, okay, I'm not so heavy, good. And then Maharaj says, oh, no, our lala not so heavy. That was one particular time, and the opening of that temple next to Giridhari Gauriya Math also, that sannyasi opened.
Yes.
The one day that Gurudev went there for the Param installation day, there's a nice photo of also carrying Gurudev up the stairs there. So some of these opportunities of making contact with his Vapu also have been very great fortune for me, very, very grateful just to be able to make contact.
Not many people have the opportunity to hold Gurudev in their arms like you have had. I think Madhav Maharaj, yourself, and maybe Bhaktivedanta Shruti Maharaj.
Some here and there, yeah.
Only very few people have this opportunity to hold him in their arms and hands and pick him up. It's not ordinary thing. It's a transcendental Vapu of Srila Gurudev, and to hold him so close to your body, it will transcendentalize everything which comes in touch with him. So
he told us that desire above anything will be the very means that we can purchase bhakti.
Yes.
So that means, okay, well, if I have an opportunity to do some sort of physical seva, even if I feel disqualified for it, if I step into the desire and actually do it, maybe I can carry Gurudev up the stairs, Really, it was just about stepping in there and being like, well, the worst case scenario is he says, no, you can't touch me, you're too dirty, which he would never say, but anyhow, I just try, you know what I mean? Just try.
Yeah. So, and then Jabdar was completed on your desk. That was also a very big thing. 14 and at age of 14, you wanted to go to the mud.
Yeah.
So it shows how you had good sanskars from previous births. At such a young age, you are hankering for such a good association, and you are getting also. And how Gurudev asked you for those 5-6 Mangalacharan verses was also very sweet. First word he would say, and he would expect you to repeat the rest of it. So he would not do so much of personal care with not many people. He would do only with people who he found very qualified, probably. So he could see your qualification and your heart so nicely, and he was training you so personally, making you remember those verses. And then the best thing I liked, he said, we will fly together, Gurudev said. Maybe you thought it is about airplanes flying together, but I think he's talking about Golok Vrindavan Dham.
Of course.
He said we'll fly together means we'll be in the Dham together doing seva, and I'll keep you there also. So yes, because his foresight was very big, and we don't know from what angle he's talking, what view he has of the world. So I think he's talking about being in Dham together. So be ready.
We used to say hold his pinky, or stay in his pocket.
Yes. And then you talked about 3 big brothers.
Hold his pinky or stay in his pocket.
Yeah. So 3 big brothers you talked about, Shri Gaurasundar Prabhu from Hawaii, Rup Kishore Bhaiya, and Ramanand Prabhu, who is with us right now.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate the way you appreciate the people in your life. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's important.
And you talked about Jaipur, Hanuman Vatika, yes, and New Bridge Festival. And then you spoke about how devotees got into debt to travel with Gurudev. Yes. That time was so wonderful, and people were so much pulled by his energy that they would do anything to be in his association. And I've seen a lot of people worked only to come to these parikramas, and sometimes they would take debt to come. Yes. And I think it is very, very, very well worth it. Now I see it. That's the best thing they have done in their life, probably.
Priceless.
Yes, because this you're not going to get any more. I mean, whatever you got, and you have to live with that, remembering those things which we are doing right now, just remembering those beautiful times, and and then yes, he had so much enthusiasm to give you saffron cloths. You said 7 times.
Yeah.
So he saw so much qualification in you. That's why he's telling you. He would not tell this to many people. He was telling you only because he saw something in you. And yes, and I can see that also. So Then he told you, you should have the mood, how can I serve my Gurudev? Yes, we all should have this mood. If we are real disciples, we should have this mood, how can I serve? What can I do for him? What can I do for him? And then you also described you never worked in your life. You did only 2-3 jobs for only a short while. So it's amazing how you are leading your life without any work, and still you are able to live, not only live, but preach and perform such huge functions and concerts about Gurudev Seva. It's really amazing. You're depending on him totally. Not many people are able to do it. People are so scared to stay away from the jobs, but you are facing it so boldly and living only for Srila Gurudeva and his Seva, not doing any work for yourself. It's really amazing. I think it's what sannyasis do. You're already doing that. I can see that you're already doing, even though you are not wearing saffron, you're wearing white, but still by your heart, you're still like a sannyasi, just living on grace of Guru and God without doing any work for yourself. So yeah. And then you describe how Gurudev said, come closer, and you saw his lion-like eyes, and you saw one separate in a different eye. I have not noticed, probably I'll see now. You have told me, and I don't think many people have noticed so closely his eyes as you have, and you have noticed one eye is different from the other. Probably it is, and if I get some photo, if you have some photo, please send it to me also. I can you find it. You said only few photographs, it is there, you can see. So yes, I would like to see. And Gurudev told you, I want you to be leading the kirtan, and I think you're already doing it for a long time now. His desire, Gurudev's desire, will always come true. It never goes waste. What he wants, it comes true. Then you said he would pat me on his head. You would polish his feet while massaging. Yes. So he would joke like this: informal and intimate family mood. People who have seen it, they can never forget it. The way you describe how he wears his gamcha is also very special. And yes, I could remember when he used to stay in our house, to take his darshan in gamcha is also very transcendental. The way his body and he would walk in his gamcha is amazing. So, and then you describe how you told one Maharaj, Gurudev bought tickets for you. So he gave you so much of importance because of your qualification, and he could see that how you're going to do in future. So he gave you all those orders. And when you gave donations to him, he asked you, can you afford it? If you cannot, he will not take. Yeah. I have seen sometimes he would give money to people to travel, actually. Some of the Russian devotees were very poor. While going back from Kartik, he would give them money, take from me. Hiding from Madam Maharaj, he would keep under his bed and then he would give it. So you're so merciful.
So Gurudev, one time Gurudev, there was one young Govardhan Basi sweeper girl.
Yes.
And she was sweeping, and also crying. And Gurudev went to her and said, "Oh, Lali, why are you crying?" And the girl said, "Because actually my eldest sister, she's supposed to get married and there's no dowry. So I'm here working and I don't know what will happen." But she was very, very disturbed. This cleaning lady for the Martin Govardhana.
Okay.
And Gurudev came out to her and gave her something for her sister's dowry.
Wow.
How
Yeah.
good
So
it was.
his heart beat for everybody. I've seen whosoever came in contact with such Mahabhagavat, they got their mercy. They got their mercy without any qualification also. And then you described how the time stopped when your eyes locked with him in Navadev Dham, and he gave you a lot of instructions which you did not disclose much of it probably, but you described how that moment was and how he was talking to you. So yes, I think he wanted to give you a lot. And then you talked about the saffron cloth. I really appreciate your holding the saffron cloth in such a high regard. Not many people do this. You called it cloth of Braj Gopis, which is really amazing. I mean, if you have such a realization and respect for saffron cloth, you already saffron cloth, I can say. And it is very sacred. To have that kind of respect for saffron cloth is not many people do it. And you have so much regard. It is really very nice. Then you talked about Gurudev's sense of urgency for bhakti. He wanted to give you whatever he could in this short time period. So he wanted to give you saffron, he wanted to give you mercy, he wanted to give you everything. He wanted to fill you up with his mercy so that later when he goes from this world, you are there as his follower to give something to the world. So he had so much hope, and I think you're already doing it your best, and you're giving so much of Gurudev's mercy to everybody. So many people inspired. And yes, greed to purchase the highest gift. Lolyam, you talked about that slok from Raya Ramanan. Lolyam hi mulyam eklam. Only the greed is the only currency which you can purchase these highest gifts. That's the last thing you said, Prabhuji. It was really nice listening to you. You reminded so many things about our Gurudev, and we wanted to hear some Kirtaniyas video from you, but I think now it's a lot of time, so we'll keep it for some other day. And I want to tell everybody that Vijay Krsna Prabhu Ji will be with us again on 18th of August on Pavitra Ropan Ekadashi, and he is going to give us a concert with Kirtan, Bhajan Sandhya or whatever his style. We are going to witness that live on this very program about Jhulan. So the theme will be for Jhulan. Radha and Krishna, they are entering the Jhulan pastimes, and we are going to hear a lot of kirtans from Vijay Prabhuji and his team. So that is, again, don't miss that opportunity. You can write it 18th of August, Wednesday. He's going to be with us again. So
you can have a look at some. I've put some JPEGs in the links here on the Zoom. There's about 3 or 4 photos there, just some of the different times I was talking about.
Where is it? I can't see them.
They should. Oh, they've sent me to Ramananda. It's being sent to Ramananda directly.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'll forward them to the group. Everyone, give me a second. I'll just forward some of these little files. But yes, I'll send them for you to share and have a look at there. But Ajay Prabhu and everyone here, especially Ramananda Sudevi, gratitude for coming and supporting. And yeah, it's been lovely.
Yeah, Prabhu, thank you so much for being with us and talking about Gurudev and reminding us about him. It was really nice. So you shared a file. I don't know how to. Okay,
is that showing up?
Yeah, it's okay. It goes in your computer directly, right?
Yeah, it should probably download to your computer, but it's some random photos of me with Gurudev. There's just a couple there. I have quite a few, but I'm just sending a few for you to look at. But yeah, grateful everybody. Haribol, all grace to Srila Gurudev.
Okay, I'll save it on my computer and see it later. All right, Prabhu, thank you so much. Thank you. And I offer my pranams to you and your whole team for doing such a beautiful, wonderful seva and doing Guru Seva. Thank you so much for being with us. I thank you all the listeners. It's a little late today, but it's fine. We don't get this opportunity to hear every day about a person, so it's okay. I thank you all the listeners. And tomorrow again, we'll be there at the same time, 8 o'clock in the evening. And tomorrow we have our dear Raglekha Didi, which will talk about the Tithi. Tomorrow is a special Tithi, Hera Panchami, and Sri Varkeshwar Pandit disappearance. So we're going to follow this Tithi with Raglekha Didi at the same time. Thank you, Prabhu Ji. Shri Guru Maharaj ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai, Gaur Bhakti Vrind ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari.
Take care, everybody.
Vijay Krsna Prabhu ki jai.
Haribol, everyone. Take care.